Oh my goodness.
I'm so excited for you.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for book club. This is so fun. Oh my gosh. Yay. Yay, yay, yay. Linnea's here. Hi, Sandra. Becky.
Hi.
Oh, goodness. Hello. Lewis, Becky, Therese. Oh, there's some familiar faces. It's been like a week, guys? You just yep. You just miss Zoom, right? You just miss Zoom meetings so much that you couldn't wait. There's some CCI grads in here. Hi, Eric, Mary. Oh my gosh, Linnea, what's up? Hi. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to get started. All right. Well, I'm going to start with some announcements while we're still letting some folks in, because there's a lot to talk about in this book. I don't know if you guys feel that same way, but it's a whole lot of book, and you guys are incredible for being here after just 1 month taking it on, especially such a crazy month being November and all in 2020. I feel like right now that you guys are like in my house and we're like at a normal book club. We're all going to have some tea together and we're all going to talk about cannabis as medicine and we're all going to geek out. So I'm very, very excited that you're here. Before we get started, I'd love to know where you're at. Where are you at physically? Where is your location? So go ahead and pop in the chat. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're coming from. And I'd also love to know where you're at in your cannabis journey. So are you new to cannabis? Have you been studying cannabis for a while? Have you been using cannabis for a while and you just started studying it? Are you a seasoned pro? Are you in the industry? Where are you at? Let me turn on my chat so I can see you. Michigan, Wichita, Portland, Colorado. Woo, Honolulu. Oh my goodness, New Jersey, everywhere. All right. Oh my goodness. Vancouver, North Dakota. Oh yeah. I went to school. What was that?
How do y'all, I'm gonna know how y'all doing writing these things.
Oh, you go to the chat. Daniel, do you wanna really quick, can you share your screen and show the chat? I'm gonna pull up my notes real quick. Yeah, how many of you new to Zoom? I should ask that question. I forget because someone's been using it. David, you're new? Some of you feel like you live here, that your home is Zoom links with like different numbers behind it. You're like, okay, I'm going into this room now. Awesome. Billy, new, just starting to study it. Oh, from Grand Junction. Well, hey, Karen, you're a neighbor in Denver. Awesome. Great.
Not letting me share. Hold on, please.
Not letting you share. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't mind, but I have tab shame. I don't know if any of you guys suffer from tab shame, but there's just so many and it's just so shameful. I just don't want you to see it. All right.
I see the chat now.
Oh, you see the chat now?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thanks. Anybody else having a hard time finding the chat? Everybody know what mute button is, all that kind of stuff? All right, cool. Awesome. Using it for a long time, new to studying it. Awesome, Stacy, thanks for being here. Awesome. Becky is only 8 months into my journey after 16 years off. Great. It's always a good time to step back onto this path. It's a good one. It's a good one. All right. So before we start, I want to make a couple announcements. The first one is that you have to be over 21 to be in this room. Is everybody over 21? If not, you have to leave and then you can come back on your 21st birthday, because this is where you should be on your 21st birthday. You shouldn't be out drinking shots of tequila. You should be at a book club learning about cannabis. So if you're not 21, bye. And don't lie. If I find out. I don't have a finish to that threat. Okay. If you'd like to imbibe today, feel free to absolutely do that. This is an open space. You can absolutely, if you like to smoke cannabis, if you want just like to show your little tincture drops in your coffee, whatever you want to do, feel free to do that. Just know that we are recording this session and we're going to share it with people who missed it, who couldn't make it to the book club today. And if we like the book club, if this is a fun thing for us to do, we want to promote it and get more people into it, then we might use the recording to promote the book club. So if you don't want to be seen smoking your bong or doing things or seen in general, if you want to be anonymous, that's totally fine. You can turn off your camera. If you don't care and you're like, whatever, I do what I want, then feel free. Okay, everybody, we cool? All right, I'm gonna scroll through. Awesome, Great. Francie, love this so much. I love it so much too. I can't believe that you guys are all here geeking out with me. This is such an impulse thing. I was like, I want to read this. I want to read it with a group of people. And I thought it would be like, 5 people that I knew, from back in the day that would want to sit around and do this. And so like for all of you to be here, I'm just blown away. So great. I love it. All right. Benjamin's trying to eat more cannabis. Ooh, I have some recipes. All right. Cool. I think we're getting a few more people in. Awesome. This book club is brought to you by the Cannabis Coaching Institute, which I'm very, very proud to be a co-founder of. We just finished a class. Like I said before, there are some of our graduates. You guys are for some reason all in a row, like the Brady Bunch on my screen right now. So hi, CCI graduates. At CCI, we train people and professionals to help others with cannabis. And we do that by combining cannabis education, by scientifically backed health and wellness practices that specifically target the endocannabinoid system, and by teaching people how to use powerful coaching tools to help people change their habits so they can actually do what they want to do and set goals that they can actually achieve. So that's what we do at the Cannabis Coaching Institute. We'll be starting up at the beginning of next year. It's going to be all brand new. It's very, very exciting. We're going to take what we've learned in the last 3 years of tons of feedback and coaches learning stuff and all the new, I got an echo, but all the new science that is coming out. So we're really excited to start that. So if you're interested in helping others with cannabis, I will let you know when we're ready to do that again. But it's so good to see you all. It's so good to see the former CCI grads. And I know some of you have expressed interest in coming, so I'm very excited to sign that up. Awesome. Daniel is here. Say hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Daniel is a graduate mentor at the Cannabis Coaching Institute. He is here moderating as well. So he'll be helping me with muting, unmuting, make sure that nothing unseemly happens on the screen. So if you need anything, if you have any questions, if you're having any tech issues, go ahead and pop them over to Daniel in the chat. He can try to help you out. We're new at this. This is a brand new, like I said, this is a very, very new impromptu gathering for us. So we're winging some stuff, guys. We're definitely winging it and be fully transparent. We don't have all of our ducks in a row. So thank you for being here, and just know that there might be some hiccups along the way. All right, great. So I would love to moderate this group in kind of a different way, because we've got a lot of participants coming from all over the place. And some of you are on screen and some of you aren't. So what I would love to do is I'd love to pose a question to the group and have as many of you answer it in the chat as you would like, but I would love to hear from some of you as well. So if you want to share your response, just go ahead and raise your hand. You can do it with your physical hand or do it with your little blue hand if you know how to do that on Zoom. And we'll call a few folks to share on each of these questions. Sound good? Yeah? Oh my gosh. All right. Are we ready to go, Daniel? 2 thumbs up. It made you use both of your hands, even though you're clearly doing something with one of them. Sorry, Daniel. All right. So initial thoughts about the book. Okay, I would love to know the first thing that comes to your mind. When you think cannabis is medicine, what's the first thing you think of? So let us know in the chat, and then raise your hand if you want to share.
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh,
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Oh, I was just initial thoughts about the book. So what did you think when you picked up Cannabis as Medicine and then you got as far as you got? What do you think when you put it down? All right, let me see who's raising hand. Monica, yeah, you're raising your hand. We got lots of screens that we got to go through. Awesome.
Okay, can you hear me?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was really informative. It was a little over my head slightly because of the different terminologies, and there was like a lot of information to ingest. But overall, I learned a lot about the body and the systems and how the differences between the CBD and the THC, and then all the different CBDs that, I had no idea that it was that much going on with that plant. But overall, I'm going to probably go through it again and read it again, but I liked how it was specific to like the different diseases. But now I'm looking for a cannabis doctor. I need a doctor to help me figure out exactly what I can do for my own personal body. So anyway, but I really enjoyed it and I appreciate it a lot. So thanks.
Thank you, Monica. Yeah, I love. Did anybody else feel like it was kind of like Pandora's box? Like there was like you open it, and you're like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. Oh my gosh, like, and how does this relate to me? Who felt that way? Did anybody feel that way? Raising hands. Yeah, I just wanted to see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was a very dense first read. That's definitely for sure. A great reference book, not as easy to sit down and read it all through. No, it is not one of those like I'm gonna sit by a pool and read this in a day kind of things. It's like, oh, okay, I need to take a step back from that and I need to ingest that and just digest that and then come back to it later. That's at least how I felt about it. Anybody else? Yeah. Who else wants to share? Sandra? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm joining in from Panama. I'm super excited. This has been a solo journey for me. Cannabis is not legal in Panama as we speak. It's being debated, and we're still in the process of just gathering support from patients for legal purposes in a law that provides some accessible medicine for us. So having to figure this out solo with obviously people that know about the plant and that have been preparing medicine and just being open to trusting so a friend that knows a friend that type of thing is scary, but once you tap into a community that is sadly working underground for obvious reasons, but very much in tune with other people's needs, it's just great. It's opened up a world of possibilities. And in my case, I was diagnosed as a child with depression and have been on medication for pretty much my whole life. And this has truly changed many aspects of my life, of my relationships with myself, with people that surround me, with medicine, with my doctors even. So it's a journey, and I'm just very grateful, I guess, very, very grateful for, and very humbled as well. So any information that I can get my hands in, I'm studying a lot about the plant. I'm looking for this to be legalized so I can hopefully help other people have a better life, quality of life. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming in from Panama. Yeah, that's, how many of you are from, if you want to share, prohibition states, prohibition countries? Anyone coming? A few of you? Yeah. Yep. Okay. Tightly medical regulated states. I kind of count that in the same boat. Stuff where it's really hard to get access to. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you so much for sharing, Sandra. I love this. I love it. Yeah, very informative. Enjoyed the storytelling. There were lots of words I didn't understand, LOL, but it was very good. Yes. Is it one of those books that needed like a dictionary? You're Googling a lot of stuff. Definitely. That's awesome. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. So let's see. What did you think about the research that Dr. Goldstein shared? Did you find it to be reliable? Did you trust in it? Were you like, yes, absolutely, I believe this? Were you like, I don't know about that, and go down your own rabbit holes? How did you feel about the information and the quality of it? You can go ahead, raise your hands.
I got Jill and Valerie.
Awesome. Go ahead, Jill, and then Valerie. Cool. Thank you, Daniel. Oh, Jill, hang on one second. Let me ask you to unmute. I'm not. There you go. Cool. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay. I thought it was nice how she did a lot of disclaimers about where her studies were coming from. And I mean, it's so frustrating that there's such amazing potential, but it's all, you know, mostly with animal studies or other things like that. So it's kind of hard to know how you know, what to believe, and not that it's untrue, but it's just that a lot of it we just still don't know. So it's like, you know, you have to, like you've always said, you got to be a human guinea pig for yourself a lot of the time, which, you know, not bad, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not great, because then when people ask questions, you're like, well, in mice, and you're like, ah, damn it, like, I feel that. Yeah, we do. There are so many limits to what, even in a book that's so thorough, that's so well researched, it's like, you just get to this point, you're like, but what? Then it just brings up more questions, right? So I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Jill. And then Valerie, go ahead. I can't find Valerie.
I actually listened to this book instead of read it, which was amazing, because when someone else is reading all of this really dense information, she articulates it so clearly for you to really understand, as opposed to some of the things I've read before about just the all of the things. My mind was just blown with all of the information, and I've got a million more questions about. So I've just got this one little tincture of CBD I make, and one little tincture of like the THC, and like there's so much more to it. And I just was driving thinking, how do you get your hands on more, especially when you're in Texas? You know what I mean? And so I believed her. She was very, it seems like she's just passionate, and she's really helping a lot of people. And I believe that there's a lot of potential with this plant that we're just don't have the access to. So I appreciated her research a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Valerie. Well, I mean, so something that I really thought was just wonderful about this book was her highlight on acidic cannabinoids and CBG and things that we do kind of have a little more access to no matter where we're at. There's the stuff about CBDA. I was just like, oh my, I need to go make a tincture of CBDA. Like, how many of you like just wanted to keep like putting down the book and like go to a dispensary? I want to make that. Like, there were so many times I was like, oh my gosh. And it's like trying to fight that impulse to just do it all at once, right? You're like, oh, now I just want to do everything. And Bonnie's like, no, chill, one thing at a time. And so I appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing, Valerie. Yeah, great case study too. Yeah.
Sorry, we have a raised hand from Mike.talbert.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much. From Pennsylvania, one of those kind of prohibition states. I thought it was very insightful, the fact that you can actually obtain COAs. However, in our medical dispensaries, it's a challenge to get them. The application of the COA and the different compounds and how it affects the endocannabinoid system, I think there's a lot of research that could be done there. As a matter of fact, I think from a medicinal perspective, if you were able to mandate that, medical users would define how each strain they did affect them, whether it was smoked, inhaled, vaped, tincture, or some other mechanism, edibles, for example, you could then take all that information and see what actually affects people the right way and what doesn't. And they could use it as a guide going into the dispensary and going, I want something that's going to make me smile and giggle, or I want something that's going to make me hungry because I need that, or not make me hungry, or I want something that just kind of puts me out there but doesn't smack me in the head. I think we're ready for that type of opportunity. I liked how he talked about the entourage effect, but you did see that he did generalize CBD, CBG, most of the compounds were very generalized across what their effects were, across what endocannabinoid system they impacted. So if we were able to take that information and start to correlate it against each user's, we could start to see, how effectual is the entourage effect on certain specific medicinal areas and start to target them that way. I think it was an exciting book, but I want more.
Yeah, right. That's what it is, right? We want more research. That's actually the question I'd like to ask next is, what do you guys want to know next? What would you love to see research being done around? So go ahead and pop in the chat and raise your hand. I'd love to know what you want, what you were like, there needs to be more of that. And you were all feisty up about it. Feisty, I don't think that's a word, but. Research on healing, entourage effect has been trial and error. Awesome. Yeah, Mike, I don't know. I think that might create the singularity. If we all like put all of our data in and then they match it up to, then I don't know, maybe the robots would win. I'm not sure what would happen. No, but we do. We need more widespread research, right? And it's difficult to do that. And I think I love that she talked about the limitations, right? I think that was what was so incredible to me and so compelling was that she was really honest about like our limitations and what we can and cannot do based on what the plant naturally exhibits, right? The plant naturally wants to exhibit certain things. Then if we isolate certain compounds, are we really getting to understand what these things do together and what they do separately, right? I love that.
We have one raised hand, Samantha.
Yeah, go ahead, Samantha.
Hi, I'm excited to know to learn to find out how it can help just like communities and societies, like how it can actually like jumpstart us into like societies that we would like to live in rather than how we live now. Like just more open, loving, like let's create a society where we all are safe and the highest thing is just to express and instead of just survive. Like I want to get there.
Yeah, like what does cannabis mean for us as a culture, right? Like what does it mean for us as a society? If this continues to occur, are you saying like how can we use cannabis in that way specifically?
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm jumping over a whole bunch of steps. But yeah, like what if cannabis was more like alcohol? Like it seems like for centuries and centuries, people used alcohol to numb pain, to have fun, to numb more pain. Like, but I find like with cannabis, it's not just numbing pain. Like it kind of does this thing where you just become more aware of like what is underlying and what solutions are. Like maybe I don't know. That's just how my brain works
No,
on
that's
it
not just
sometimes. But
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I just feel like sometimes it's really can be the key for us to get out of survival mode. At least one of the things that can help us to get out of survival mode and out of might is right and all that long-standing bullshit.
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. Yeah, I mean, so we're talking about a book that focuses very much on the physiology of cannabis, right? We're talking about the chemistry of the plant. We're talking about the phytochemistry of the plant and its interaction with the body. But like, there's something else there. We're actually going to be talking about that next month. We're going to be covering cannabis and spirituality. We're going a completely different direction. And then we'll be wrapping it up in the end with smoke signals and talking about cannabis and culture, how it's impacted culture, why it becomes stigmatized and villainized and demonized over and over and over again. So that's going to be a really interesting, I think, couple of books for you, Samantha. But right now we got to talk about what Bonnie's talking about. She's like, no, this is the body, this is science, right? So we're gonna have to do that. More studies using cannabis to help opiate addiction. Wonderful, yes. I wish I had a book from what I'm hearing. Oh, Loretta doesn't have the book. Loretta, you gotta get the book. Read the book. Everybody
Loretta
seems
also has their hand raised.
all right. Yeah, go ahead, Loretta.
I was just saying by everything you guys were saying and stuff, like I don't have that book, but it sounds very interesting and I'm intrigued. I want to know, I want to read it. But I've been using CBD, those mineral drinks. I have a lot of joint and bone problems, but I'm telling you that I was amazed when I first drank one and all the swelling came out of my legs and stuff. So I love CBD. And I want to know more about it. And I want to help people with it too as well. But I want to read that book. And I'm hoping to go look online and find it and read it. So.
Yeah, Loretta, thank you so much for sharing. I love hearing stories like this as well. I think Sandra just said that. And I loved what Bonni did say about that piece. Like some other doctor, I think she overheard or she was speaking to another doctor and they were like, I just don't think that a patient coming back and saying they feel better is evidence. And she's like, yeah, it is. It's absolutely evidence. And like, just, in doing this kind of work and just sharing cannabis recipes, which was how this started for me, and just hearing constantly how it's helping people, I was like, there's something to this. There's something underneath. This isn't just for me. It's not just for fun. Like there's something going on here. And so like, it's peeling back those layers, right? How can we use it better? How can we be more effective about it? How can we help others with it? We've got to get this, information out there right now. Like it just has to happen because so many people need help. So thank you so much, Loretta. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right. Great. Let's move on to the next question. I would love to know what facts you found surprising. What were you like? Is there anything, I know it was a dense book. I know there were a ton of facts, but like, was there anything that just keeps sticking with you? And as you're like walking down the street, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that it's 100 times more powerful or something like that. Was there anything that you can think of that was that for you? And you can go ahead and raise your hand as well if you'd like to share. David, yeah.
I was amazed that CBD helps with tolerance. I did not know that. I've been using for off and on for 50 years, and you know, it was always take a break to help your tolerance up. But I'm going to increase my CBD now to try to help that out. Also, a little testimony. 2 years ago, during a physical, my PSA was at 7.8. That's my prostate, and it should be under 2. I did 1 month of Rick Simpson oil. I made it home, and it went to 1.2 and has been under 2 since. So it works.
It works. And it doesn't work in mysterious ways anymore,
Oh, no.
right? As soon as
No,
we start in the cannabinoid system, you're like, well, duh, because it controls like everything. That makes so much sense.
I didn't know why it worked till I read the book.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, David. Yeah, that's, you know, that's such a common occurrence too, right? It's like, you don't know how it works. You're like, I know it's working. I don't know how. And it's so beautiful when you start to understand it. And again, you start to like get those layers peeled back and you're like, this is magnificent. This is one of the most magnificent systems in the human body. How cool is this? Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, THC goes in the fridge always. It's so funny. Who shared that? Rose. Yeah, I had a THCA tincture and I was like, oh no. And I literally like got out of bed and I was like, of course it does that. Like, why did I not think of that? And so I put it in the fridge and that's where it lives now. And now I'm like, I need to make another one because I'm going to take like all of that one now that I know how beneficial it is. Awesome. The contents of juice cannabis versus extracted or decarboxylated cannabis. Yeah, raw cannabinoids. Same. It's so beautiful to see all of that compiled in one place. And I think for many of us, especially those of you who might have been like researching cannabis for a long time and you're always kind of getting a little bit here and a little bit there, it's just so nice to see a really well organized, like, this is all of what we know about this thing currently. This is all of what we know about this. So I'm so excited that you guys are learning from it. This is great.
Hey, Corinne, there's a comment in the chat from Terry, and then I also have a raised hand from Melanie.
Okay. Yeah, Lisa, I was also surprised at, I mean, I wasn't a huge bong fan, but I was like, oh, dang, Bonnie's got it out for bongs. She's not having it. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the a message from Teresa, but go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry, Terry. I think she had her hand raised.
Okay, go ahead. Terry, and who else was it, Daniel?
Melanie.
Terry and Melanie. All righty. Terry, you can go ahead and go first. I'm still trying to find you here. You can unmute yourself. I can't find you right now.
I'll go.
Okay, great.
So can we talk about terpenes, please? And how to find reliably labeled products so that we can use terpenes as a guide? I mean, that was something that I kind of latched onto. Do you think I'm latching onto that a little bit too hard? I mean, the way that she had the little chart, like this terpene has a tendency to help people with these afflictions, or it, you know, it promotes this, you know, like, it was pretty neat to, I mean, that she was willing to like lay it out there like that, you know, knowing that we would probably try to use that as a guide for formulating what works best for us. But where do you actually find that information?
Sometimes that information can be really, really hard to find, right? That's what we were talking about, the limits of the COAs. It can be hard to find a data, like tests backing on it. Not all cannabis is tested for terpene content. Some is, you know, so it's just kind of based on where you live and what you have access to, for sure. But you can also use your nose, which is one of the things that I really do like. And I mean, I think spending some time figuring that out, that piece out, is worthwhile. But that means that you're like smelling cannabis at dispensaries now, which I don't know how much of that is going on anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, seriously.
So it's just kind of like we're in a weird place with it, right? So if you can find a COA that has, you know, the terpene content, you can always go to sources that I don't really like, you know, Leafly and that kind of thing to find strain terpene information. I'm sure there are better ones where you can look up a strain and find like the approximate terpene expression, but it's just kind of a tricky thing right now. Again, yeah, if you can find it, it's really beneficial, and I think it can be very helpful. And if you can smell the cannabis, I think that can also be very helpful. But we're just kind of in a weird place with it for my
so though she didn't list all the terpenes though, did she? So is there a reason, is it because those are the only terpenes that are really effective for medicinal purposes, or do you think it's just she doesn't have an exhaustive list of all the terpene compounds and their properties? And do you know if there's any more information about any good other good sources for terpenes and their characteristics?
Yeah, absolutely. I like Max Montrose's stuff on terpenes. I'm sure a lot of people go into really exhaustive stuff. I actually like that she kept it simple, because sometimes it seems like terpenes can be one of those things that people do latch onto, and they're like, but I need to get this specific terpene for this specific thing. Whereas sometimes adjusting dosage, ingestion method, balancing ratios, timing, those kinds of things can have sometimes a bigger impact. And it's also, we have to be real with ourselves that unless you're growing it yourself and you have mass quantities of something, they run out. So you're like, oh, I love this thing. And then a dispensary doesn't have it again. And so kind of honing in on those other things seems more practical to me. But absolutely, there are places where you can go down that rabbit hole hugely. And I think that she was trying to keep it simple. And because those are the compounds that the plant expresses most, I think that I'm not Bonni, so I can't like crawl inside of her brain, although like that'd be fun. Like being found mouth pitching Bonni Goldstein would be great. But like, you know, it's just, I think she just wanted to keep it simple for folks. It does seem like her focus was always secondary. And I've had that experience as well, because when you guide people and try to educate around those things, that's a kind of a tricky it's a sticky bit for us right now as an industry, for sure. But thank you so much for sharing, Melanie.
I apologize. Yeah, that was so cool to learn that.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Melanie. Sorry about that, Daniel.
No, I was just apologizing. It wasn't Terry, it was Terrell.
Okay.
Yourself, please.
Terrell. Thank you,
Hi. I was trying to get on when you were talking about the research that she's done and whether we believe in her or not. And I actually live in California, and I'm a psychologist, and I have a client who was on an antidepressant and anti-anxiety drug, and the parent wanted to get her off. And so she's how I discovered Bonni, was that she researched her and found her. And so this little girl's been going to her, and it's been fascinating because I came at it kind of through my son smoke, and I grew, and, you know, not so much the medical aspects, but watching how she's been treated and the starting doses and really a methodical approach that Bonni goes through, where she started on CBD and then she added some CBDA, still wasn't getting enough results. She was getting, you know, she was weaning her off the other medication. But then when I last spoke to the parent, she's now starting her on a little bit of TCHA. And, you know, for me, it's fascinating. And I love the idea that Big Pharma can't get in on this because it's very tailored to the, you know, the client, and being able to, you know, kind of mess around with it. But I also think there's a drawback, which is it's so labor intensive and time consuming to come up with, you know, what the dosage would be. And I like the idea that actually it's on page 122 where she references what a starting dose would be for some of the minor cannabinoids. And I find that super helpful too. So I'm kind of trying to follow sort of this path that this child is on, so I can, you know, see how she operates. But I trust her completely, and all of her, you know, research and with Ethan Rousseau and all. I think she's great.
Absolutely. They're pioneers. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Terrell. Yeah, I think it's such an interesting thing. Yeah, because it is they can't just be like, it's not one size fits all, right? They can't take it. You have to go on a journey with it. And it's so challenging. It's so important to have people to support folks who are on that journey, because it is such a long journey and it can be so complex, and you do have to track a lot, and you have to like, that's a lot of behavior modification, right? That you're having to take on in order to incorporate this kind of a medicine, a plant medicine that's so dynamic into your life in order to, you know, see results that you want and to be able to dial it in.
Yeah, well, fortunately, they had, you know, almost immediate response to the CBD, so it was really the fine tuning with the other cannabinoids. But yeah, it's exciting. I love having a, you know, I'm sorry she's suffering, but I'm glad that I get to watch, you know, the treatment that way.
Yeah. And what's interesting, you know, it's like the fine tuning, and like I love that she talks about too that there's also this moment where sometimes you have to then taper down and you're having to change it, because it's not only just a dynamic plant medicine, it's a dynamic system in the body that we're working with that's changing all the time based on how you're living, which changes based on the plant medicine, right? So it's this like kind of push and pull of like what's actually happening in the body. And so it is a very much internal personal journey. Thank you.
Yeah, very dynamic. And I think, you know, she can't be treated with THC because she's a child too. So that, you know, sort of limits the tool chest as well.
Yeah. But as you saw in the book, not by much, like, okay, cannabis, THC does this amount, and then the rest of them, the therapeutic benefits of, so, I mean, the results already that we've seen from limited research, you're like, dang, there's a lot going on in this plant other than THC, right? It's not the whole kit and caboodle. It's not the holy grail of cannabinoids that we, you know, thought it was as we were, you know, down in basements breeding it. Just like, I want more of that, I want more of that, whatever that is. Let's get more of that going on.
It's just that little pinch. It's like a little bit of pepper, you know, if you can put a little pinch of THC in there, you might improve the stew. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tara. All right. Armando. Oh, sorry, I just muted myself. Armando, I think you had your hand up. Here, I'll ask you to unmute. Makes an awesome Alfredo sauce. Well, what does? I'm missing something in the chat.
Back to terpenes. I find out I've been using Leafly and other internet access to learn more about them. And now I know why Acapulco Gold makes me mellow, but at the same time, I cannot go to sleep after smoking Acapulco Gold.
So just understanding terpenes, Acapulco Gold, that is a throwback. That is, that's generational Acapulco Gold references. You're dating yourself, Armando.
I know. I love my Acapulco Gold.
This is my uncle's favorite strain. Rest in peace, Uncle Ricky. Absolute favorite. All right. Let's move on to the next question. I keep muting myself. I don't know why. All right. Yeah, I would love to know from you guys if there was a section or something you learned that was personally impactful to you. Was there something that when you read it, you were like, I'm going to change the way that I'm relating to cannabis, or my beliefs are completely changed about something in cannabis? Was there anything that was really impactful to you personally? So go ahead, raise your hand if you'd like to share. Linnea, you're looking back at your book. You're like, was there an impactful part? See you. All right. Exploring entourage effects. Oh, I love it. Mike says, I haven't heard of Acapulco Gold in 48 years. Yeah, it's a throwback. All right. Does anybody want to share? Nothing changed your life. You were like, I'm not changing anything. Meg, yeah. Go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, so for me, I've been using cannabis for 6 years, mostly on bad pain days. So I have 3 autoimmune diseases. All 3 of them are not under control. I'm on infusions monthly to delete my immune system, and it's not working even. So like seeing how the system works, for me, I'm like doing microdosing like every day. Like I would take any other medication that I was given for my disease was very eye-opening to me. So it's something that I'm thinking of talking to doctors and getting off of everything and replacing it with this, or maybe trying just doing the microdosing and see what happens. Because it's not all working anyway. So it's just interesting to me.
That's lovely. That sounds like a very hopeful moment, right? And I know that many of you have experienced the same thing when you're on this path and you're like, oh my goodness, if I do this a little differently, maybe that can be the answer for this. And so thank you so much for sharing, Meg. I really, let us know how it goes. I want to know what your journey with cannabis is like. So make sure you stay tuned. Come back for book club next month and let us know. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's wonderful. All right. I liked how it could help with ADHD. Yes.
Corinne, there's
Wonderful.
2 raised hands.
All right. Oh, raise hand. Jasmine and then Mike. Go ahead, Jasmine. Yeah, there you are.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Yeah. Hi.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just going to comment on just learning a little bit more about CBD in general. A lot of people's introduction into cannabis is always with THC and get high. Well, not really everyone's, but mine was just with THC. And I'm starting to learn a little bit more about CBD, especially with my untreated ADHD. I heard you just mention that. And yeah, ADHD is one of the things that I want to start experimenting more with the CBD side mixed with the THC and just kind of finding my levels. And it's living in Colorado, it's a little bit easier to do that. So yeah, that was really impactful to me. Just now I know about the THC part, but I really want to dive into the CBD and the CBG and all the other parts of the plant that aren't just the THC that we learn about in college. So, you know.
Yeah. or whenever you learn about it.
Or whenever you learn
or
about
whenever,
it.
maybe you were in middle school, maybe don't know.
That too,
I have a question for you, Jasmine. So would you say that you were more of like a recreational user, or you were using THC therapeutically and then you learned about these other things, or how did that shift for you?
Yeah, I mean, I started as more of a recreational user, really, but I'm diagnosed with anxiety and depression and things like that. And I started smoking it more and more sometimes to just, to level myself out and get myself together, and really just recreational. But I noticed that sometimes when I smoke certain strains, that's why I commented about limonene. And knowing that terpene, I know that certain citrusy strains give me a lighter, better effect with my anxiety and my depression. So it was recreational, but then I started noticing these things. And I'm like, okay, I need to learn more about terpenes. I need to learn more about CBD. And then with the ADHD and all that other stuff, I'm like, okay, now I want to study this more. So that's kind of where that's going to. And then I want to blog about it. I want to heal other people. I want other people to learn about it. So I want to do those things and tell others about it, because I really feel like everyone needs to know the benefits of this plant. Like, let's destigmatize it. Let's get out of that whole devil's lettuce. Like, I think she mentioned that, or maybe that's the next book. I'm sorry, I'm a nerd. I jumped ahead, but yeah, let's destigmatize it. Let's get it out there. Let's get people healed. Let's get people feeling better. Like, I was just so inspired by that book, and I'm sorry I talked forever, but
no, don't be sorry. You definitely blog about it. Blog about it. You got lots of words. Yeah. Your word count will be very high. SEO will like you. Blog
Absolutely.
About it. I love that. Actually, limonene. I'm glad you brought that one up, because that was one that kind of came up after we talked about terpenes. And sometimes you can tell in the names, like, and with that particular cannabinoid, things like tangy, like some of the names are reflective of the higher concentration of specific terpenes. So I don't know. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh yeah. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Awesome. Somebody else. Oh, Mike. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so you might have figured out I'm more of a caregiver than a user. So I farm and create edibles and flower to help people out. One of the best things I found out of the book is it allowed me to explain to potential problem opioid users, cancer patients, anxiety patients, how it works, so that they would open up and get off their drugs and then try it out. And I've been successful last couple of weeks. It's just been fantastic, and new people that, I've never even thought of looking at it. A little bit of that explanation about, why it affects epilepsy and how it impacts the body and why it takes your anxiety away. That takes people from 0 to 100 in the ability to start looking and trying it out. It's fantastic. That's my big life changer.
So fantastic. Yeah, Mike, when we know how to communicate about this plant, right? When we start getting the tools to be able to take it out of like this mysterious realm of like, it helps. I don't really know how, and we can talk about things like the endocannabinoid system. And I love how Bonni shares too, that unless you know about that, and you get a little feisty about it if you want to, if somebody comes at you like, no, it's not. And if you don't know about the endocannabinoid system, I'm sorry, we're not having this conversation. Here's a book for you, right? Or here's some information for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you can take that mystery out of it, right? And you can make it very clear without making it overly complicated for people, because that's something that, actually I would love to ask this question next. Would you give this book to a beginner? Yes or no? Would you give this, no. Would you give this book to someone who needs help with one of the things inside of it? And just be like, here you go. I tried it. I tried it with her first book as well, which is not nearly as dense as this. And I will tell you what, I didn't read it. It ended up on a bedstand, like it just ended up in places that are like way over my head, way too complicated. It's our job, if we're passionate about this, I believe it's our mission to digest this information, to guinea pig it on ourselves, to test this stuff out, and to share it with people in a way that they can understand it, a way that it lands for them, right? And so that's why I love it so much that you guys are here having this conversation, because like the more that we can really understand it, and the more that we can simplify it and popularize it for people, so that it's not such a, like, I suppose, did anybody feel like they got hit in the head with this book a couple times? Like, oh my goodness, it was a lot, right? And if you gave that to someone who had no foundational knowledge of this plant or no experience with this plant, and only had a lifetime of drug war, anti-drug, this is your brain on drugs, here's a fried egg, right? If they've lived that life, which all of us have, right? All of us live that life, then it's a different conversation to have. So I'm just so glad that you're all here. Right, Cannabis for Dummies. Oh my gosh, do you think the Dummies people would publish that book? I bet they would. They'll do anything for $1, those Dummies people.
One more raised hand from Linda.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
Hi, I have two things. One, I found it very interesting, all the information about how cannabis has been used with people who have disabilities, especially epilepsy and autism. Professionally, I've worked with special ed kids most of my adult life. And I've heard the stories, but didn't know the backstory with how the CBD was effective. And reading this book, I was like, okay, I sort of get it, or I'm beginning to get it. I'll have to go back and read sections of it again because it's so much information. But in my logical, scientific mind, it really helped put it together so that I could begin to explain that to other people within the field. So that was very interesting. And also over the past week, I had been harvesting 2 plants, and I got down to where I had just very, very small buds. And I thought, what am I going to do? And I just left them and didn't do anything. And then in reading, getting into the book, the revelation for me was I was going to throw these little buds out. And I thought, oh, hell no. There's some CBDA and THCA there. And in reading about the ailments that those help with, I thought, oh, I need those in my body. I don't need to be throwing those away. So that was my aha moment.
I love that so much. That's so sweet. Like, no, those little buds, they've got magic in them.
I'm like,
awesome.
and I've read a lot of things about using all parts of the plant. So I was frustrated when I was like, I'm not going to dry them because they'd be like little, even smaller than a peanut once they were dried. So I thought, so what? So I just left them, and now I've got them in the refrigerator to be used when I make a protein drink, or, just throw them in to juice them. So
I love it. Thank you so much, Linda. And I think your first comment too was about like getting this understanding of how CBD actually works mechanically, right, in the human body. The human body. it's so important because the CBD industry is such a, right? I mean, it's just, there's so much misinformation
Right.
and just like weird claims and all sorts of stuff. And it sounds, I remember the first time I heard of snake oil, CBD, that's exactly what I thought it was. That's how quick the association was. I remember someone contacted me and it was a European company at the time. They were the only people doing it that I had ever heard of. And they were like, and it does this, and it does this, and it does this. And I was like, what? No, send it to me, I'll see. And it was terrible. It was the worst quality CBD oil I've ever taken. And I was like, this is awful. What nonsense. And I literally just like put it to the side until about 6 months to a year later when everything just started blowing up with Charlotte's Web and all that stuff started happening. And I was like, what? No, oh my gosh, now everybody's selling this nonsense. Like, this is crazy. And then it kept growing. It took a while for me to really fully understand it. And I was like, it's so unfortunate when, you know, an industry takes off and it takes this like really wonderful, powerful thing and it distorts it. And they're giving people medicine that doesn't have any of that compound in it. You know, they're just like really fleecing people. And so I definitely see where the public stands when you talk about CBD in cannabis in terms of CBD, where they're like, yeah, right. Okay, sure. It does all the things. Great. Okay, cool. But it's really interesting when you have the facts to be able to back it up. So thank you so much for Linda for reading it and for sharing it with others. That's awesome.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. All righty. Yeah, doctors are so keen on giving out pills. We're keen on taking them. It's time to break that cycle. Yeah, we got to do some work, guys. There's some work to do. All right, let's see. We have time for a couple more. Does anyone have a favorite quote? Does anybody have anything that, again, was like highlighted or that you wrote down? You can go ahead, pop in the chat, or if you have one, go ahead and raise your hand. It's open book. Don't worry, it's not like a... Cannabis is medicine. Mine too, Benjamin. You took mine. That was mine.
Jackie has her hand raised.
All right, go ahead, Jackie.
I like the question. It's at the beginning. It says, do you know about the endocannabinoid system and what medical conditions are associated with its dysfunction? Like, because I have struggled with the stigma behind it, but I appreciate its place in my health journey. And so that question, like, just put everything in perspective for me when talking with my friends or something. And actually, like, I don't know, just everything is in that. Until you know the endocannabinoid system and how it is associated with our body, you can't judge and say, no, it's not worth a look. So I just appreciated it starting off that, and it just, my mindset just set me from the beginning with that.
So lovely. Yeah. And so that's right. That's something that so many people go through too when you're on this journey, and because it is so stigmatized, especially depending on where you live, who your neighbors are, who your family is, like it can be very, very stigmatized. And we internalize a lot of that, right? We're coming up with similar beliefs. We're breaking against things that we've been taught, even if we're open-minded folks, right? There's still a little bit of that in there. So it's really important for us as we're going through our own journey to keep remembering that, right? That this is medicine. That's why I love it. It's so simple. It's a statement. Like once you understand the endocannabinoid system and you know where you're going, what you're trying to do with this thing, and again, taking that mystery out of it, it becomes a different journey for you. You can like walk forward with confidence and like know that you're not doing something that's bad. Like, as you know, like I can't, sometimes it's so crazy that we have to say that out loud, but like cannabis isn't bad. It's not a drug. It's not gonna make you do heroin. Like we have to say these things to ourselves sometimes because it's so embedded in the culture and it's still so stuck there in some ways. And it is changing and there's definitely a loosening of it, but it's really important for us to have those resources and those quotes that keep us going, like in terms of like, I'm not doing something bad or wrong. Like this is, you know, especially in places, you know, like the United States where, and well, everywhere, you know, it's still legal everywhere, but it's still a controlled substance. Oh, the UN is, they're voting tomorrow. So maybe not after tomorrow, maybe not. Oh, if you guys, oh, okay. The next Cannabis Book Club, we're going to have to like celebrate in a big way if it's not, but that's really wonderful. Oh, actually, yes, John said this, and this is something that came up, that Dr. Goldstein didn't really support CBN for sleep. Did anybody else find that surprising, considering if you know about cannabinoids, everyone's always associating CBN with sleep? I was also surprised by that, John. Yeah. I was like, wait, what, Bonni? And she's like, no research. And I was like, oh, no research, Bonni. Okay, all right, good to know. All right, let's see. Okay, here's our last question. Would you read another book by Bonni Goldstein? Would you read another one? Yes, no, have you had enough? They're like, please no more Bonni Goldstein. Yeah, she's got both, that's right. That's right. I gave away every copy I've ever bought of Cannabis Revealed. And so this one, I'm like, no, this one's mine. You can't, no one can have it. So I'm like, I'm not giving it to beginners. Yes, everybody said, yes, I have both. You'd read more from Bonni. Love her. She's really incredible. Love it. Great. Awesome, everybody. Well, unfortunately, you cannot read another book by Bonni Goldstein, not this month, because this month we are on to cannabis and spirituality. We're going in a completely different direction. We're going away, as far away from science as we possibly can. If you're not interested in going there with us, you don't have to, but next month we're going to be doing some really cool stuff. My coaching partner at the Cannabis Coaching Institute is going to be doing a cannabis infused cacao ceremony. We're going to be doing all sorts of woo stuff. Why not? Let's get with it. It's going to be getting ready for a new year. So if you're interested in exploring cannabis and spirituality with us next month, make sure you get this book and read it and see how it feels. Try it on. Try the trousers of cannabis and spirituality on, see how they fit. I thank you all so much for being here with us today. This was so great. I love you all so very much. This is so fun seeing you all here. It's so nice to meet you and connect with you. And I cannot wait to see you all next month. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. You can all turn off your mute if you'd like, wave, say goodbye. Say, I love cannabis. Cannabis is nice, and whatever you want to say.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Ben, you're awesome.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Had a great time. DCI peeps.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, friends.
Thank
Cannabis
you.
forever.
Legalize. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, legalize it. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.